Hey Atomic Youth! So glad that we can come together again for week 5 of term 2. We just wanted to catch up with you guys, see how you're going. We are still receiving some submissions from you guys. Thank you so much for those. Please keep it up. It's so cool to see how you guys are going at home, playing games with family, trying out these challenges. It's so awesome. Definitely keep it up. Please send in as many as possible. Alrighty, so week 5 challenges are now in this video. So the first one that we've got for you is the Ziploc challenge. So some of you guys have probably seen this going around on the internet at the moment. Basically, you just need a Ziploc, fill it completely with water, make sure it's sealed tight. Our challenge for you is to see how many pencils you can push through very quickly at a high speed from one side of the Ziploc to the other through the water. I would probably suggest maybe do this with a sink nearby, or at least over a bucket just in case, but you should not have any water leaking out of the Ziploc bag. Alright, so the second challenge that we have for you is to make an exercise video. So you've probably seen some on some older style American shows, even like your old leg warmers, and everyone's dressed up. Get as creative as you want. Basically, you have to create the video, an instructional video of you showing how to do certain exercises and trying to maybe get the audience you are trying to show this to cooperate and participate in it with you. Alright, see how you go with that. Let us know if you have any more questions for it. I know it's a little bit tricky. The third one is to take a photo of your favourite mural here in Tongala. So obviously there's been so many more murals that have gone up more recently with the new art studio here in town. But I'd love for you guys to take a walk, see if you can take a few photos with yourself in it as well. Let us know which one's your favourite and tell us why. Okay, so the fourth one is to play drawing games with a member of your family. So some of you guys have played noughts and crosses, hangman, paddocks. There's so many different games, but feel free, try and do it with a member of your family or even a friend. We know the restrictions are starting to get a little bit more lighter now. See how many you can do and see who wins those challenges. Alrighty, so the fifth one that we've got is to write a book review. So with the week that's just passed, we got you guys to write a movie review. We got to see some really awesome submissions, so please send it through now for your own favourite books. It can be anything from a thick novel to even a picture book. All books are really awesome. Definitely see if you can send them through. We'd love to see them. Alright, so the next one is to make a thankful jar. Some people know these as a gratefulness jar. Basically, throughout your day, throughout your week, if there's something that you are thankful for or that you're grateful for, put out a little bit of piece of paper, write what you're thankful for and put it in the jar. That way later on, when you're feeling a bit down or you're feeling like you're really stressed out and you need to have a break, come back to this jar, take out a few and just read them. And just reflect on that moment when you wrote that down and why it made you so happy and how you felt. Alright, and the next one is to plant something in your garden. This can be something as simple as a plant that's already mostly grown and you're just giving it new soil or planting it in a pot, or it can be anything from a bulb. We don't need to see the progress, although there might be something down in the future to show we'd like to see your progress of it, but plant something in your garden. It may be a flower, it may be a herb, maybe something for cooking, vegetables, anything you like. The next one is to create a photo collage of what's important to you. This can be a collage of your friends, your animals, nature, certain items that you love. Create a collage of what really represents you and your life and what it means to you. Alrighty, so the next one is to list the top 3 games that we've played here at Youth. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit fuzzy on what the actual name of the game was called, but go for it. There's a few ones that we've actually played here, as in either an obstacle course throughout the entire of this hole, or even some that are more one-on-one that we've had with each other. What are your 3 favorite games? And the last one is another one of our awesome science experiments, and it is to show surface tension. So some of you guys, when you've been having a drink, you have a bit of fun and you put your finger on the end when the straw is submerged. And if you lift it up, a little bit of your drink is stored in that straw. What I'll get you guys to do is, if you have a coin, doesn't matter what size it is, 50 cents, $2, $1, 5 cents, I want you to lay it down on a table and to use that straw with just a cup of water. You may need to do this really slowly and carefully, because what your challenge is to measure out how many drops of water you can fit on this coin. It is going to be pretty tricky. You may have to do a few attempts at it. All you have to do is just really slowly release the pressure off the top of the straw to get 1 drop at a time. Make sure you don't forget what number you're up to. It can be pretty tricky. Alrighty, so that's week 5's challenges. Keep up all those submission guys. It's super good to see how you guys are doing at home. We love seeing how you're going. Matt and I are in isolation as well. Even though some of us do have to work, some of us do have the ability still to work, do some study. It's hard on us as well, and we totally know the situation that you guys are in. So feel free to chat with us at any time. We know how hard it is. And also, if you just want to chat about anything, it can be life, what you're doing at school. We love to hear from you guys. Alrighty, I'm going to pass on to Matt right now. Thank you guys for tuning in again for week 5. Send in those submissions.
Hi guys. Like Katie said, I really want to encourage you all to start getting those submissions in for this week. We are loving seeing the work you're putting into these submissions. Some of the challenges that we've done have gathered some really cool, interesting and good responses from you. So we're really loving those, and really like to encourage you to keep those up. We love seeing them, and we love hearing from you each week. So over the past couple of weeks, when I've actually shared a message, I shared about rainbows and the fact that they're a promise from God that He will not flood the earth anymore. And I shared about building a solid foundation for your life. So this week I want to share about why God sent the flood and why we need a solid foundation. And that's really to look at sin. Sin is an act, it's something we do, it can even be a thought that is against God. And it's something we do that's not godly. There were rules and there were restrictions that God put on mankind, and obviously when God created Adam and Eve, God told Adam and Eve, you can eat of any fruit of the tree, but you cannot eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was the one thing. That was, Adam and Eve could do anything they wanted except one thing. And that one thing, when they disobeyed God, was the first sin. And that's what sin is. It's disobeying God. And from that point, God kicked Adam and Eve out of the garden, and they went to live their lives, and with the main commandment of honor everything that God's created. Just live and just they were perfect humans, essentially. There was very little sin, corruption. They were told to go and live, and that they would do. Their moral compass told them how to live their lives. But by the time Moses led the Israelites, the nation of Israel, out of Egypt, that moral compass they had was gone. And at this point, God needed to tell His people how He expected them to live, how they needed to live righteous in God's eyes. And so God sent down 10 commandments. Now this is a first group of rules that God later elaborated on, but we're going to pick up these 10 commandments in the book of Deuteronomy. Moses is talking to the nation of Israel about when he first went up onto the mountain. He came back down with the 10 commandments. In Deuteronomy, Moses is just reiterating to the people these commandments to remind them this is what God said to you. Because it's been 40 years between when God gave them the commandments. And at this point he says, the 10 commandments are, I am the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other God but me. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to worship them or worship them. Bow down to them or worship them. You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. You must observe the Sabbath by keeping it holy, as the Lord God has commanded you. 6 days are for work, as God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. But on the 7th day God rested, and so God commands us to take a day each week to rest and to be with him. And that is why we have church on a Sunday. That is our 7th day of rest. It says, honor your father and mother as the Lord your God commanded you. Then you will live a long, full life in the land your God is giving you. You must not murder, you must not commit adultery, you must not steal, you must not testify falsely against your neighbor, you must not covet your neighbor's wife, you must not covet your neighbor's house or land or male or female servant, ox or donkey or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. So you must not seek after, or you must not desire something that doesn't belong to you. So that was like the first commandments that God gave the nation of Israel of, this is how I want you to live. This is not doing these, you're not in sin. But if you do these, as in if you break this rule, if you commit murder, if you steal, if you testify falsely against your brother, if you work on the Sabbath, if you worship someone other than God, they're sins. And later God then spoke to Moses, and we have the book of Leviticus. And Leviticus is full of hundreds of rules that God gave the Israelites of things to follow, things they can do, things they can't do. And a lot of it revolves around this terminology of being unrighteous or unclean. And that's basically where this person has done something wrong, done something that was against God. Not always necessarily the wrong things, there's some big grey area in there, but that's for another video, that's for another session. And then it talks about how being sinful and have committed a sin, or being unclean, being unrighteous, how they could go back to being with God and being righteous and being holy. And if you look through those 10 commandments, all the other rules that God set in place revolve around those 10. And Jesus was asked, when Jesus was walking the earth, he was asked by the Pharisees, there are 10 commandments. Which one of these is greater? And Jesus said, the greatest commandment is to love thy neighbor. And you can tie all other sins, or all things we do in the world, into two factors. It's either against ourselves, against God, or against our neighbors, our brothers and sisters. There's actually 3, not 2. And a sin is something where you're not loving your neighbor. You're doing something against your neighbor, or you're doing something against God. And that's what sin is. And sin causes a separation between us and God. And like I said the first week, there was so much sin, there was so much evil in the world, that God decided, rather than try and fix it, he sent a flood and he killed every living being. Everyone died except for Noah and his family. And then Jesus, when he walked the earth, he told the parable of, they know what sin is. They know that they need to not live in sin. But you could either hear his words, not understand it, and build your house on the sand, and then when life comes against you, everything will fall away, and you will just be so easily drawn back into sin life. Or you can listen to his words, you can listen to the words of God, the words in the Bible, that can build your house, your life on his rock, so that when you are tempted and when things that cause you to sin come towards you, your life is built on rock, and your house, your life will not fall away. You will not fall into that sin temptation. Okay? It's about living a life righteous and holy with God. Okay? Because God is the epitome of holiness. He is the epitome of righteousness. Like, he is perfect. And because he is perfect, he can't be in the presence of someone who isn't perfect. And that's how, sin is an issue, because having sin makes us unrighteous, makes us unholy. And this then draws into the conclusion and the purpose of Jesus. There were so many rules, so many sacrifices, so many rituals that the Israelites had to follow to remove the sin off their life. And it was always only temporary. It wasn't a permanent solution. When Jesus came, he came as the perfect sacrifice, the perfect lamb. Okay. Back in the old days, like, the Israelites had to sacrifice a pure and shameless lamb in order to redeem themselves of the sin in their lives. So God sent Jesus as the Lamb of Man. He was human but God, and he lived a life without sin from the moment he was born to the moment Jesus died. And then when he rose again, there was not sin in his life because he was God. He couldn't sin. And through his death and his resurrection, he took all the sin that we commit with him to the grave, and then he rose again, defeated it. Having risen from the grave and defeated sin, Jesus then basically made an open invitation that anyone who believes in Jesus and follows Jesus, will take on his mantle, will take on his garment. So it's like, imagine you're wearing your clothes, you've been out on the farm, you've been out playing in the mud, and you're filthy, you're dirty, your parents don't want you to come inside. And when we go up to Jesus, we're like that, we're that dirty. And when we go to him and say, I want you to come into my life, I want to be freed from this, Jesus takes off our dirty clothes and he puts his clothes that are clean on us, and we become clean to the Father in heaven through the clothes that we wear. And then Jesus takes the clothes that we were wearing back to him on the cross, and he wears those clothes, he wears that sin on the cross 2,000 years ago when he died, and it's gone. We are now cloaked in Jesus's clean and pure clothing. It says Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. No one goes to the Father except through him. The Bible also says that, everyone has sinned. If you meet someone out there who says, I've never sinned, they're lying, and they're sinning in that lie. The Bible says everyone has fallen short of the glory of God and sinned. It's rampant, it's throughout the world. Everyone needs God. Everyone needs Jesus. Okay. And once we come to Jesus, he can take our sin away. But Jesus isn't just about taking sin away. He wants us to keep living without the sin in our lives. So that's why he told us the story of the builders. Because if we come to Jesus and say, yes, take the sin away, give me your coat, give me your clothing that are clean and pure, taking mine off, Jesus says now to keep your clothing clean, you need to build your life from this point on in him, so that he will we just allow him to build our life around him, so that when, sin does come attack, when temptation comes to attack us and to tempt us to sin again, our lives are just so profoundly found in him that we're not tempted. We don't fall into sin because we just have that strength. That's just what I wanted to share. It's a bit of the basic about sin and how Jesus came and overcome it. That's what I wanted to share. Go in peace, guys. Like I said, if you want to come and talk to us about anything, we're free. Just come and chat. But enjoy your week, guys. See you next time.